Блять!
Welcome everyone to another video. Tonight we're going to witness the most anticipated match in history. On the left we have a 2018 Suzuki SV650 weighing in at 432 pounds. 195 kilograms. And on the right we have a 2016 Yamaha FZ07 weighing in at 397 pounds. 180 kilograms. In performance mods, the 2018 Suzuki SV650 brings a carbon fiber Yoshimura slip-on exhaust and NK&N air filter. Meanwhile, on the right side, the Flying Zebra 07 is bringing an Akrapovic full carbon exhaust, DNA air filter, and an ECU reflash. We will have multiple categories. For each category, the bike with the winning attributes will receive a point. The bike that ends up with the most points will win the title of a better bike, I guess. Now, don't look at this as a race, but look at it as a representation. The way the SV650 and the FZ07 deliver power is completely different. The reason why the FZ07 falls back is because it has more torque and more power down low. And I know this sounds counterintuitive, but meanwhile the FZ07 tries to cut on power to keep the front wheel down, the SV650 is able to put almost all of its power down halfway through the first gear. Now this goes until the FZ07 gets through half of the second gear. At that point, you're able to start giving it full throttle without the front wheel flying up into the outer space. And this is where the FZ07 begins to shine. Meanwhile, the SV650 is still accelerating fairly linearly. At this point, the FZ07 starts to catch up and overtake until usually about 110 miles per hour. At which point it starts to fall off again in power and the SV650 begins to catch up, leaving the two bikes almost identical at the top end. And because both bikes have their drawbacks and advantages in their early stage and very similar top end, both bikes get a point. After years of testing, we came to the conclusion that the FZ07 front brakes are less spongy and have better response under heavy braking. But unlike the SV650, the rear brake on the FZ07 is complete trash. Meanwhile, the SV650 rear brake provides a consistent feel from the top to the bottom of the pedal. On the FZ07, you don't know whether you're still at the half point or all the way at the end. And because of that, the FZ07 still receives a point, because even though both bikes are lacking in brakes, I'd still rather have a better front brake compared to the rear. Both bikes use an LCD display for their clusters, and at first look they look pretty similar, but when you ride the bikes back to back, you start to notice a couple of differences. On the Yamaha, the dash is located right on the handlebars. This doesn't seem like a big deal at first, but after a while you start to realize it's kinda annoying having to look down and take your vision away from the road just to see the speed or the gear you're in. Suzuki does a much better job at this, because they place their dash above the handlebars, which make it much easier for you to pay attention to the road and the speed you are going. Now, in my opinion, both of the dashes look super boring and outdated, so why not improve the look by installing an LCD flip kit? They work on all makes and models and enable you to flip the color of your display, going from light to dark. They're actually available on our website, and by purchasing, not only are you improving the look of your motorcycle display, but you also get to support this channel as well. Also, if you guys ever wondered how all of us mount GoPros to the front of our helmets, we sell custom fit mounts for a variety of popular helmets that contour the curves perfectly for a secure fit. As of 2 weeks ago, we have added the highly requested Shoei X14 camera mount. Remember, everything could be purchased on ridetechmoto.com, and we do ship worldwide with low shipping shipping costs. And even though, in my opinion, I think the FZ07 display looks better, I'll have to give the points to the Suzuki SV650 because it displays all the needed information and has a much better mounting position. Now, because looks are subjective, we will leave that for you to decide. Top right hand corner, which bike looks better? In terms of construction and build quality, the FZ07 is constructed mostly entirely out of squeaky plastic for the outer layer. Meanwhile, the SV650 has a full metal tank. The stock mirrors that come on the FZ07 are much better on the other side, but it just seems the SV650 will withstand more of an impact compared to the FZ07, and it does. I've seen it firsthand where the SV650s would slide on pavement at high speeds with minimal damage, meanwhile the FZ07s just shatter into pieces. So the construction point goes to the SV650. Believe it or not, but weight plays a big role when it comes to motorcycles. The SV650 comes in at around 430 pounds while being a pretty agile bike, but when you look at the FZ07, you will see that it comes at 30 pounds less. Even though it might sound like it's only a couple of pounds, it plays a big role and you can feel it. Standing at a stoplight, you can feel a lot less weight going from side to side on the Yamaha, and when throwing the bike into a corner, it does require less input, and because of that, the FZ07 receives a point. When it comes to suspension, both bikes feel similar at first, but when you go out on a bumpy road, you can feel that FZ07 does a better job at absorbing bumps, but that's not always a good thing. Even though it's easier to throw the FZ07 into a corner, keeping it there is much more difficult than the Suzuki. The Suzuki has a noticeable difference in the front forks, which keep the bike more planted when going through a turn. This gives the rider more confidence, which enables the rider to push the bike to higher limits compared to the Yamaha. Another point going to Suzuki. Going right out of the dealership, one of the biggest things I've noticed with the Yamaha is that it wasn't smooth. The engine braking was so strong that the front and rear brakes were not even a necessity. The first two gears had a terrible on-off throttle response and were not enjoyable at all. Only after countless hours of me adjusting the fuel maps was I able to get the throttle response to a respectable level where it didn't bother me as much as it did before. After riding the SV650, it became clear to me that Suzuki spent much more time making their bikes more refined and smooth. Although the SV650 is not perfect in any way when it comes to throttle response, it was significantly better than the Yamaha, which earned Suzuki another point. Having worked on quite a bit of Suzuki and Yamaha, I can definitely tell you'll have a much easier time working on the Yamaha. Suzuki, it seems, just makes all the tasks and maintenance procedures more difficult than they should be. For example, a simple task such as taking off the rear axle is more difficult on the Suzuki compared to the Yamaha. Spark plugs are much more difficult to get to because of the V-twin engine, and it uses two spark plugs for the cylinder, which is more expensive. Yamaha makes the most reliable motorcycles, which are simpler and are easier to work on. That is why FZ07 receives a point. And the winner of the fight is the Suzuki SV650. And remember, this comes from a person who owns an FZ07. I tried to make this video as less biased as possible, and hopefully you guys respect that. But if I were to go back in time, I would still choose the Yamaha over the Suzuki, because personally I like the looks more, I like the power delivery more, I like the fact that there is more aftermarket parts available for the Yamaha. All the things that the Suzuki does better than Yamaha can be changed, and vice versa for the Suzuki. All the things that Yamaha does better can be improved on the SV650. So yes, I agree, straight out of the factory the SV650 is better compared to the Yamaha because it is more refined. But in the end, you'll be the one who will be purchasing one of these two bikes, and it will be your duty to build them to your personal liking. I'm proud to say that after months of hard work, we're finally proud to launch our new site, ridetechmoto.com. In the last couple of years, manufacturers have been coming out with some amazing looking helmets. Unfortunately, many of those helmets have very intricate curves up on the front, which make it almost impossible to attach an action camera using these generic sticky mounts. Here at RideTechMoto, we have developed action camera mounts which go exactly at the center of many helmets available on our site today. Finally, we can avoid this and this. As of right now, we have mounts available for helmet brands such as AGV, Shoei, Icon, and many more. We sell standalone mounts or full adjustable kits that help you arrange the camera at the best angle. Go ahead, check out the site and see if a mount is available for your helmet. And if it's not and you would like to have one made, please comment below with the name of the helmet and we will put it on our list. So don't waste any more time and get a RideTech mount for your helmet today.